What is up, guys? In today's video we are going to be spectating random players in Fortnite Zero build. As always, if you guys do find this video helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below how many crown wins you've gotten in Fortnite OG. I feel like with it being a shorter season, people are kind of like, you know, way less concerned about going for crowns. But let me know. We'll see how many I have once I land. I think I'm at like 80 something, but we'll see. And as of the time I'm recording this, we are going to be getting the Season 9 and X update tomorrow morning for Fortnite OG, so we'll have changes from Season 9 and X coming to the game. Really interested to see what they do with that update, because one of the more kind of like noticeable changes or like impactful changes they had in those seasons was in Season 9 we had the combat shotgun come to the game, but for some reason we got that in last week's update. Oh shoot, I forgot to check my crowns. GG's, man. Oh, they put the ready up thing back in. I know a lot of people were complaining about that. I personally never used that because it was added to the game after the fact. I think I'd been playing for like a year or two before they even added like the ready up in-game feature. What I was going to say is like one of the more impactful changes in Season 9 and X to the loot pool is the addition of the combat shotgun, but for some reason we got that in last week's Season 7 and 8 update. So I'm interested to see what they do for tomorrow's update. Man, killed me, teabagged me. Now he's drinking his shield out in the open. Got the Gref G. I'm pretty sure that's an AI just by like where they are. There is some vegetable baskets down here if you're desperate for shield in retail. And he's gonna have a blue tack there, which is nice. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. Just push the kill. It's an AI. You got this. You've got to be joking. That Gref G AI has like 10 HP. Watch it like not be an AI and be the most cracked player ever. Alright. Let's go. I'm not too hopeful for the future of spectating this player because it took them a little longer than I would have liked for them to like push that kill and get it. Chest is under you. This man doesn't even know how to loot the house he landed at. Personally, I would take the heavy AR over the suppressed scar for Zero build. The heavy AR has been my favorite so far. For white to blue, if it's like gold, like purple and gold, I wouldn't mind using the scar, or like the heavy AR is fine as well. But for just like the standard white to blue versions, the heavy AR is definitely my favorite. The suppressed scar can be good. A lot of people like it, but it's just a weapon that I have never enjoyed as much as other players. Like even back in the day in Chapter 1, I feel like I had a much lower opinion of the suppressed scar than other players. It has like minimal bloom for the first few shots, and then it's like peak bloom is higher. Like its max spread is larger than the regular AR. So if you like burst it and tap fire it appropriately, it can be good. But I don't know, for some reason I've just preferred to use the regular AR more. And then the heavy AR, you know, does a lot of damage, but it also does get quite a bit of spread when you spray it. But one of the things I like about the heavy is that like it's worth tap firing, because a lot of these ARs in Zero build I have to like tap fire a bunch anyways. See, like right here, his bloom is probably too large. I wish we could see it on screen, but his bloom is going to be like too large there for him to consistently land shots, whereas like with a regular AR he's maybe still landing shots there. We'll see if that Demi comes back to turn this fight. And that what I just talked about, where I was saying that like if it's, you know, under purple I like the heavy, greater than purple it's not the biggest deal to me one way or the other, is one of the things that's kind of interesting about this season of Fortnite that I feel like hasn't really been a thing in a while in Chapter 4. Throughout like most of Chapter 4 I just kind of liked what I liked, and rarity didn't play much of a part in it at all. You know, like last season I was going to use the twin mag AR over any of the other ARs, but this season rarity does impact my choice more than it has in recent seasons. And I've seen people say the same thing as well, because like I prefer the tac shotgun for Zero build, but I've seen people say that like they always use the pump unless it's like a purple or gold tac, and then at that point they take the tac. So it's like interesting to kind of see rarity impact people's choices again. And like I said, I just feel like that wasn't as much of a thing last season. I was always going to use the sharp tooth pump or the exotic maven if I came across that. I always wanted to use the combat SMG over the other SMGs in the game. I always wanted to use the twin mag over that. Like it was just like things were very defined, and I feel like this season things are more like up in the air. I'm tempted to like switch off this player because I don't know if they're gonna have action for a while now, and I haven't enjoyed spectating them. We'll maybe see them later on. We'll see what they do. If they take this hoverboard and go look for people, I'm down for that. If I was in their position right now, I would try to go to Salty. Pretty much with this season and the infinite rifts that spawn in certain locations, I always just want to rotate towards those rifts after I loot my area. So like after retail, I would go to those rifts. If I go like shifty, I would go to this rift here. I just want to rift and then probably get in towards Salty because there's a lot of rifts in that area anyways. I think I'm going to go ahead and switch players because I don't think he's really going to run into many players over there. There was somebody on the racetrack, but it was an AI, I think. Yeah, it was the one we were just spectating. Frosty Flights. I haven't even been here. This place is not filled in for me. Dream Dunker. They're in at Salty near the rifts. If you ever like don't know what to do to find people this season, just go to Salty. Like Salty, I feel like so many places rotate into there, and then you also have the rifts so you can like quickly get around. This man is on 1,000,000 sensitivity. The original player we were spectating just got eliminated, which I kind of thought was going to be the case as soon as I got into an actual fight. GG's, man. You can turn fast, but you didn't hit any shots. And that's kind of the downside of having an overly high sensitivity. People think of it as good because you can just turn on things, but if you're just turning and missing all your shots anyways, it's not the greatest. And that's why it's nice to have like a more of a balanced sensitivity where you can still react to things quickly, but also have some consistency. I feel like that says not as much of a thing anymore where people do play on overly high sense. I knew back in the day in like COD 4, I had a lot of friends that played on like max sensitivity because they thought it like made them good. There was a player ziplining up to the top here. If I was this player right now, I would want to grapple to the top and beat this player to the top, or just take the rift and be out of there. But this fight where they, all right, well maybe they just win it anyways. But giving that player like the start to that fight is not great. I would want to like beat them up to the mountain. This should be a kill though. Nice, good stuff. And right where he just was to like grapple up to that area is one of the rifts I was talking about, which is infinite. That's always going to be there, and it's going to respawn, or it's not going to respawn, it just doesn't get used when people use it. So it's always going to be there. And with that, you can just like fly around the map and look for people or get around the map quickly. A lot of people complain that this map is too open, and it's like, yeah, if I wanted to go from Salty to Tilted and I chose to like walk through this area, there's a lot of times where like if I get caught out, or there's a lot of area in between those two POIs, where if you get caught out and somebody gets first shot on you, you're probably just going to lose. Like the player that just died there. Like that guy had no cover. There wasn't much he could do in that fight. But, you know, playing the map appropriately, I feel like is to alleviate some of that. The time you find yourself in no man's land, and rifts can do that a bunch. Like you just really limit the time that you're walking around the map. It's great. And also just knowing, you know, when to start fights. Like the player that just died to the player we're spectating, I think it was a visitor skin. I don't think this person knew they were there until they started getting shot. So you might as well try to get yourself near some sort of cover before you open fire, you know? Like, why would you start a fight when you have no cover? I don't know what he's doing. Why is he fighting the AI? This is where you can get the grapple gloves. This is a rift event. Is he going to go for it? Personally, I wouldn't. I like the grappler a lot more. Seems like they are in agreement with that one. There's also a rift in the basement of this house. Just how you navigate the map in general, I think, is like very important this season, because the map can be, you know, very punishing, and you might have some end games that end in like a really bad area, and it's just unfortunate. But for the most part, the openness of the map has really not been a big deal to me. I think the zones are the most like problematic thing about this season, because in Chapter 4, Season 2, I think, they reworked zones, and it made Endgame a lot more dynamic, I guess. Like, less campy. Like, more went on Endgame because you had a lot of moving zones, or a lot of, like, partial zones that, like, force people to make plays, whereas now the zones mostly just kind of shrink towards center. Not exact center, but they shrink, you know, in that circular manner, and that makes the games play pretty slowly. I feel like this is a terrible fight. You don't want to be doing this at all. He hit, like, for overshield, and took like 80 damage just to push this player, and this should be a fight that he loses. He's going to use all his grappler here as well. I hope that he loses this fight, because I kind of want to spectate the person that's on the mountain there. We'll see if they push. And there was a rift right next to him before he grappled up to that mountain. And I feel like rifting would have been the better play there. I'm not sure if he knew there was somebody on the mountain before he grappled up, but if you rift, you could see the person on there and then kind of make a decision about whether or not you want to land on them. But just like grappling onto them, where again, he put himself in a spot with no cover. And then his only choice was to either back down or grapple onto the person. And, you know, he tried to grapple onto them without decent damage. If he got like some decent headshot tags on this person, then pushing them might have been the play there. This could be very good for them though, because somebody just rifted behind this player. And if they land on the top part of that mountain, then this person is going to kind of be caught in the middle, and they're going to have a hard time dealing with this at all. I kind of want to spectate them, though. I hope that they lose to him. They've been hitting shots with the Deagle. The Fireworks... I think it's Fireworks Team Leader is the name of that skin. They've been using the Deagle and hitting shots. They're not as decisive as I would like, though. I don't know if they just had no mobility and couldn't push off that or what. Okay, go to the top here. 100%. You could have also gone for the top of the tower, but I think it's better to land on here and get shots and then grapple to the tower. If he didn't have a grappler, then it would maybe be more up in the air, but like right here, you can kind of do both. And we'll see if that Fireworks Team Leader has any mobility to even push off this. Are they using a scope there or a deagle? I thought they were using a deagle. This is rough, but I think this player needs to push. Because they don't have any heals. So the longer this goes on, the more it favors that the person on the bottom. The Fireworks Team Leader has a huge advantage here. They don't know they have a huge advantage, but the person we're spectating has no heals. So the situation is never getting better for them, whereas the other player has time to heal and like improve their situation. And both players were weak. I think you needed to either push when they were both weak or just back off. But I feel like backing off is also a rough play because it's like pretty hard to regain here. Maybe you could have gone into Dusty and got some mushrooms, but yeah, I really don't like how slow this fight has been played. Maybe the Fireworks Team Leader has no heals either, though, and that's kind of why this has been the way it's been. They do have a pump, which is like a pretty big advantage for this fight. They took their shot. But if both players are weak, the pump is the better one to have. Nice. They do get that kill. They played the cover well there. You saw they like hit a shot and then they immediately backed up to that pillar where they had right shoulder peek. And that is what you want to do as much as possible in close range fights with shotguns, but especially if you're going to be using the pump shotgun. You know, you can kind of combo pump SMG, but if you have the option and you're fighting somebody using a spray weapon and you're weak, like the person we're spectating, if you can just constantly put yourself in a situation where you can back up into a right shoulder peek, you can deal a lot of damage without taking much yourself, because the way the camera is in this game is like off center. So if you're peeking from the right, you don't have to expose as much of your character than when you're peeking from the left. And so he gets to peek, see that entire Fireworks Team Leader's body and just, you know, hit shots. Whereas that Fireworks Team Leader is hitting like seeing a sliver of this person's head for every shot they take. They played that very well. If they didn't, I think if they played pump SMG there and just went for the spray, they would have lost because they're so weak. I think what they did is great. Unfortunately, they're not finding any heals. There is vegetables at the house to their left. There's a chest near them as well, but there's a few vegetable baskets at that house to the left, which can be huge in this situation for them because they're missing whites. And a lot of the vegetable items heal like 5 white or so. So like you open a cooler, find, you know, 4 apples, that's 20 health, and that's a pretty big deal. There's also apples that spawn in salty. I don't like jumping and potentially taking fall damage there. I feel like those like vegetable coolers are like pretty underrated this season for like situations like this. And I think there's like 3 or 4 of those coolers at that house. This one here, the one that's like directly under him. The one that's not a part of Salty, but like kind of in between Salty and Dusty. There's several of those coolers there. And you know, if you get 15, 20 health per, then that's all your white health back for this player, you know? I've eaten more produce this season than the rest of Fortnite combined, I think. It's been a struggle. There's apples right in front of him as well. Seems like this player is not, you know, they don't respect the produce. But yeah, that's like 20 health there right in front of them. And, you know, 20 health, it's not the most, but that's almost double what they have currently as far as white health goes. Like that could be a pretty big deal. But they have 0 interest in the apples. Getting closer to the end of the game, they found a med kit, which is nice for them. But this is kind of like what I was talking about, the problem with the zones. You see how many people are left alive. We have 7 total, and this is the zone. And then when it shrinks again, it's not going to get that much smaller. I think I don't remember exactly the numbers of the zones, but 4th zone last season was when Island would spawn. And then I think the zone after that, or like 6th zone, you would get like partial zones where like half of the zone would be on the map and then half of it would be out of bounds. And that just forced everybody to like go there and play the game. And it wasn't like a super small zone because part of it was out of bounds beforehand, and that like kind of opened up. You would have like a zone this size, but because it went to one of the edges of the map, it forced a lot of the lobby to rotate. Whereas these zones just kind of shrinking towards center, you know, everybody can just kind of like inch up a bit, and then nothing really happens. So we'll see if we can spectate somebody else. But this is kind of the unfortunate aspect of this season, is that the games just kind of like stall out at times like this. And it's rough. And when I made the video that I posted yesterday about like playing aggressive, I talked about how you need to like slow it down this season at times. And this is kind of the time I was talking about. Like, it doesn't matter how aggro you play at this point. You're probably not going to encounter very many players because there's not very many left on the map. And just the more you run around looking for people, the more you make yourself a potential target to third parties, or, you know, just someone getting good timing on you. And I feel like timing is like very impactful. It's hard to recover from that this season with how like the heals are. And then just also the guns can kill pretty fast. Like, you know, the bloom is a thing, but you can get melted pretty quick by like a heavy AR, you know, if the person hits all their shots. This person is probably going down into the basement to rift. If I was this player, I think you just give this kill up. Like, chasing down into the basement isn't the biggest or the best play. And that person is probably just going to rift away anyway, so I would like to see them just leave that. It is what it is. The gingerbread man didn't seem too like confident with the game, so I don't think they're the biggest threat. Wait, did they get out? Never mind, they're Houdini. They're a huge threat. Someone did just rift. It might have been that gingerbread man. If he gets to this house, he can turn and fry the person chasing him. This is good. This is good. And if you have someone chasing you like that, that's what you want to do. Just get to cover and then look for to try to make a play on them pushing you like that. Unfortunately for, I think the skin is Trailblazer, they didn't hit AR shots, or they get the kill there. But it could have been much cleaner for them if they hit like some decent scar tags while that guy was like grappling onto them. But that's just kind of the nature of the game this season with these bloom-based ARs, is that, you know, sometimes it's harder to be consistent with these. That is a situation where I kind of prefer the third-person ARs to like the first-person ones, though. When you just have someone like kind of close to mid-range pushing you with mobility, I feel like it is easier to use something like the Scar than like the Red Eye we had in the past. But you kind of see the result of what I was talking about. When they were like just waiting for that gingerbread man to do something, they wasted a lot of time there. And then they didn't get the kill on that gingerbread man anyways. Whereas, like, if they just left a bit sooner and went to zone, like, accepted that that gingerbread man was gone, then they probably avoid all of this. And it is much harder to regain this season. Like, this is very fortunate that he finds medkits here. But you saw with the player that we were spectating before that it is, you know, a struggle to find heals this season. You could drink your minis. This is giving me anxiety. He really wants to get in the tree to, like, be a bit safer when using these heals, but it's like, I feel like it's taking so long that anybody in this area is just going to know that he's in the tree probably anyways, you know? 4 opponents remain. What is this zone? Okay, this zone is pretty bad. If you don't have bunkers, I feel like this is a hard zone to play because this mountain is like somewhat okay, I think, but it might get looked at from this one and this one. But as far as next zone goes, you can't be on the top of this anyways. And the top of this can maybe still see onto that. I really wouldn't know where to play with this without bunkers, to be honest. This is a struggle of its own. I would probably just want to be here because when you're edge, you don't have to worry about as many angles, and then you could probably play like the little peak of this terrain to have cover versus the rest of these mountains, and then you just hope that you could just stall out for the game to end. But this is a very bad zone. It's like part of this mountain is in zone, but I think it's going to be hard for him to play it. Yeah, see, that mountain is just all open. And once the game goes a little longer, it maybe becomes a better spot, but you still have to worry about behind you. I feel like that mountain in the middle is kind of a trap. Just play the backside of this. That guy that's using the scope DR on the mountain across the way, I think has to move. I'm pretty sure that's the one that's not in zone. But with the player we're currently spectating having a bloom-based AR, they're likely not going to punish him much anyways if they do get tags on them. It's probably just going to be overshield. That's another really huge mistake I see a lot of players making this season, is they commit to long-range fights that just kind of go nowhere. You know, like 2 players are 80, 90 meters away, both have bloom-based ARs. Probably isn't really going to go anywhere, you know? You might as well just not even participate in that. 1v1v1. Someone just rifted. This is a decent spot to be, I think, but that guy's going to land on top there, and they have a scope there. If he doesn't get bunkers out of this drop, this is going to be rough. They got a rift. What do you... I would take that rift to go, honestly. This is another fight where you just don't want to participate in it. I think that player has like a sliver of that mountain that they can still play. If they got a sniper off that drop, that would have been nice. So where they are now is good, but not right now. But as far as next zone goes, they have like an easy way to get to this zone. So right now you probably just want nothing to happen for the next minute. And then you'll eventually win the game. That person that was across the way on the mountain rotated early. You rarely see that. And they're rocketing somebody that's in front of them. Or maybe they're just shooting rockets randomly. I don't know what they're doing. He's to this right. He fell off. This might be good for him, though. They fight. You third party. Just get on that. And with, like, the nature of fights like that this season, it's hard to win them cleanly. Like, but one player was shooting attack there. One was shooting an AR. Yeah, like, that person is weak, and it's just easy to third party that. I think if you're this person here, you probably want to wait longer to rotate. They like rotated right away when their mountain, you know, that was still a good spot to be, I think. And they could have held that for another like 50, 60 seconds. They didn't have to move until like just now. And they could have waited to see if anybody was going to do something. But I feel like that person rotated too early and it kind of cost them. Because like this zone, can I open the map? Okay. This zone, once it's closed, you would like to kind of be where my ping is on this edge, for sure. And then maybe here. If you're able to be on this ping and you're safe and you see that nobody else is playing the side of the mountain, then you can push up to here and kind of like look to do things to the rest of the lobby. But this player lost the game before they even needed to move from this mountain. If they kind of chilled here, they could have seen like, do these players fight here? They decided to move early, and then that kind of resulted in them eventually getting into a random fight and then getting third partied. And that's kind of why the end game plays out so slowly this season. Like, just the way zones are, I think makes the game play really slowly. We did see someone rotate early and to their detriment this game, but oftentimes people will just kind of wait to do nothing, and then eventually a fight will happen, and, you know, a chain third party happens, and then it's GG's. You need to like either not fight in game or get fights like done cleanly. You don't want to have like messy fights in game. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys found this helpful, informative, interesting. As always, if you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.